I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for this busy day up here today. House Finance is taking up the Pawtucket Red Sox legislation as we speak here. But speaking of things moving forward, I'd like to welcome my next guest on, Erich Haslelhurst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Spearheading the campaign for Question 1 that officially is now on the ballot. Now, it was as of yesterday with the budget being approved by the Senate. For $250 million is the school construction bond. And this has been your bread and butter for the last few weeks.
Past few months, actually, but yes, absolutely.
Past few months. So talk with us. I wanted to talk a little bit about this advocacy effort because it's been out there all across the state. You've gone to a number of cities and towns. So now that it's on the ballot, what are we going to see from you in the advocacy effort with All Eyes on November?
Sure thing. So first thing is that the governor's actually going to sign the budget tomorrow to make it official. We will then become Question 1, and then we're going to put together a robust communications plan. You're going to see a lot of social media. We're going to go out and we're going to visit the schools, and we're going to meet with principals and parents and students and take an in-depth look at what's actually going on inside the schools. A lot of times, people that we've talked to, they drive by the schools and they look fine, but then when you get inside, you actually can see that we really need to do something, and we need to do something now.
So do we expect a lot of that, a lot of those visuals? Here's what this inside of this particular school, I mean, is this going to be weekly and being inundated with the needs of Rhode Island schools across the state?
Absolutely, and especially as we get into the later part of the electoral season and get toward post-primary, you'll really see a lot of attention around the initiative to vote yes on Question 1.
So you've been around the state, as you said, for months now, talking to cities and towns and individuals. What are the most common questions people ask you when they talk about this? We know that the governor introduced the budget. This was part of her, again, billion-dollar plan pieced together with other funding mechanisms to help schools over the next 5 years. But what are the common questions that you get when people ask about this? I'm sure it's, where's the money going?
Absolutely. They want to know, where is the money going and how do we get access to it? And so that was really a huge part of this. Was a combination of two different articles within the budget. Article 5, which actually places the $250 million bond on the ballot. And then Article 9, which incentivizes communities to put a project forward so that way they can take advantage of the money that's in the bond.
Okay.
And so we wanted to make sure that they understood what those incentives were, and they're very generous.
So let's talk a little bit about those incentives. I'm sure folks who run government at the city and town levels are very aware of this, as they've got their own budgets to work with as well. What do those look like?
The incentives, there's one for immediate health and safety. When we say immediate health and safety, we're talking about fire suppression systems, roofs. We've seen a lot of ceilings fall down around the state this year. That's immediate health and safety, mold and mildew mitigation.
Okay.
So there's incentive for that. There's also incentive for STEM and STEAM infrastructure, science labs. There are some schools that are not falling apart in the same way that others are. And so there's incentive for our schools to put some of their resources and put forth those projects.
What do you hear from folks who might question, well, our city or town's done a good job with schools, why should we be supporting another that's not? That's a common one I hear out that. What do you say to folks when you hear that?
So that's actually something that we have heard a lot of. And again, it goes into being inside the building and perception being reality. One of the things that is most commonly wrong with our schools are the things that you can't necessarily see. It's mold and mildew. For instance, we were in Portsmouth Middle School a few months ago, and I was with my colleague Lisa, and we were walking around behind the crowd, and we noticed, one, there was an intense smell of mold and mildew, and it happened to be a humid day, so that brings that out. And two, the rooms were very dark. There were no windows. And there's actually science that proves that children learn better when they're exposed to natural light. So people might think that they're doing a really good job of maintaining what they have, and they are, but they can definitely do something to move the needle forward.
So we're going to see a lot from inside the schools. What have you been, anything surprised you during this process so far?
I think the thing that has been so surprising has been the overwhelming support that we've been able to garner here in the State House from both chambers. We have been up here every single legislative day talking to our state reps and our senators and the leadership in both chambers. And we were able to answer their questions and address their concerns and work with them. And we were able to get this passed through both chambers unanimously with bipartisan support. So that says a lot about Rhode Island's commitment to our public school buildings, to our teachers, and to our students.
How much are you seeing on social media on your daily basis? How much are you interacting with average Rhode Islanders who might have questions, concerns, and comments?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we did was we put out a call to action for people to send us their pictures and their stories. And you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're Fix Our Schools RI, and on Twitter, Fix Our Schools RI is our handle. Send us your pictures, send us your stories. We want to hear what your account is, and we want to be able to share that with your communities.
So it's not just the campaign infrastructure, but you've got the call out for the entirety of Rhode Island to get involved as
Absolutely.
well.
This is a grassroots effort, and we want to make sure that people in every community across the state of Rhode Island has their voice heard here.
Well, I appreciate your coming in to tell us, because as you said, I said you crossed that first hurdle, but the governor has to sign it.
That'll be tomorrow at noon in the stateroom.
You'll be right behind the governor off of one shoulder, I imagine.
Well, I hope so.
Well, we'll continue to follow all of the bond issues and more politics here at the State House. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.